As seen on Yahoo Finance, CNBC, Fox, and 1 million other places. What does that mean to you? That's a press release, guys. So a lot of times you'll see marketers advertising press releases in this big fancy way. They're telling you, get the as seen on, increase your conversion, get more sales, get more trust. And they're going to charge you ridiculous rates, $2,000, $5,000 to get all of these logos. Don't do it. It's a scam. Okay, so press releases do serve a great purpose for certain things. So first off, let's start with what is a press release or wire release. So basically, your press release is you writing the story or having a publicist or a journalist write a story and releasing the story to all the major networks. What that does is it does get hosted on CNBC, Fox, Yahoo Finance, and all those places. But what happens is there's a big press release above it. And so what that means is you're telling the media your story and you're having the opportunity for someone to pick it up. So when should you do a press release? Most of the time, you don't need to do a press release if it's day-to-day activities, things like that, or you're just trying to get your story out there. A press release is not going to get picked up. Times to do a press release are when a company is brand new and launched, when you guys are getting massive funding, if it's something that needs to be public information. So if it's a public company and you're trading, things like that, then yes, do a press release because that gives it all the information to your investors and it makes it publicly known. So that covers when to do a press release. And again, really, press releases don't usually get picked up in a major way unless you have a very innovative story or something great's happening, or you just got $10 million in funding from Warren Buffett. That will get picked up, I promise. All right, so the value that press releases serve. First off, they're telling the public that you're open. They do give you some SEO. You theoretically can use those as seen on, although I don't recommend it. I think it builds bad trust when people actually know what they're looking at. I personally see that as a scam. But that initial SEO and letting people know that you're aware and you're out there is great. So that press release can then be used when you're pitching the media. So we'll talk about pitching in another story or another video, but really what happens is you can get that press release out there and then say you're reaching out to a journalist at Forbes and you're like, oh, I'd love to be interviewed on X, Y, and Z. Here's some topics that can be featured. And in here is a link to the press release. That way you're not attaching the press release and they know that you're more legitimate. They have a little bit more trust because you've at least spent the money to do that press release. So that's kind of the way that we like to use press releases here at Otter. There are times to use it for sure, and it does have some value to your brand. But in general, don't get all wooed by those logos and things like that. That's really not the point and not how you should use a press release. Okay, so when not to do a press release. Guys, if you're trying to do interviews and you want to get featured on different magazines and things like that, it's much better to pitch journalists one-on-one. So what we do here at Otter is we create media lists of potential journalists and editors who want to write about you. Once we do that, we figure out what topics they're interested in, and then we customize the reach out to them, whether we do it through email, through Twitter, through their phone, and that's just for people we don't know. Now, the best way to reach out is through your network. So one of the advantages of working with a PR agency is the relationships they've already built. So let's say your goal is to be on Forbes and you would do anything to be on Forbes and you've reached out to every contributor that you could find on Forbes. You've stalked Twitter, you've done email. It's not necessarily going to work for you. But when you hire an agency, what they're going to do is we're going to reach out to the contributors we've worked with in the past at Forbes. With us, we've worked with over 40 contributors that work at Forbes. And so we're going to reach out to the one who's most relevant to you and say, hey, this is my client. This is what they do. This is the service and the value they're offering. Can you write about that, or can a friend write about that? Because contributors are very niche marketed to who they're writing about. And so that is a great way to find your way in and do that. So again, that's kind of the difference between that press release and that pitch for you. And they both have their place and add a lot of value, but you have to know when to use them and why to use them. So I do want to quickly cover what should be on your press release. So you want to keep it high level and exciting. So again, breaking news. So if you have a brand new company and you're just opening your doors, let's talk about your company and let's tell them high level what your value is, what your mission statement is, where you're located, who your kind of target audience is, what you're aspiring to do, and why the company was created as a whole. Now, in my opinion, you should keep these pretty short and to the point. 3-4 paragraphs, 500 words is kind of a max. A lot of press release services even max it out at 400 or 500 words. So the point is that almost elevator pitch of your business and why it was created. All right. Now let's talk about different press release services. So there are expensive ones and cheap ones. We talked about them. Some companies will charge you thousands of dollars for it. Some companies you can get a press release for $30. There is a difference in the quality and distribution. So first off, if you're using a specifically press release service that doesn't write it for you, what you're really looking at is the distribution list. So what I mean by that is where is the press release going to end up? So if you're finding a $30 press release, it's a good chance that it's missing out some of those big boys like Bloomberg and Yahoo Finance and things like that. Now, if you pay $250, it's a good chance that you get a more complete list. And then I've seen some go up to about $2,000 where it has a very complete list, Market Watch, Bloomberg, and all the top players. Sometimes even, I'm not sure if Forbes does it. I'd have to check. But there's other top places that will do press releases that add more credibility, more SEO. So there is potentially an advantage on the SEO side of that. In my opinion, go ahead and do the $30 to $250 one. Most times you're not going to get a hit on it. Again, if it's groundbreaking, if you just cured cancer, go spend the expensive one, or even the cheap one, you'll probably get picked up. It won't matter. And then let's talk about agencies and what they do and why they charge a premium. So if you can go buy a press release for $30 or $250, why would you pay an agency? So what the agency does for you is they're going to do the press release. They're going to write it for you. And they're going to distribute it to their trusted release wire, whether it be Cision, Newswire, those outlets. But the real value is having the press release written properly. So as I mentioned, there's a structure to it that is going to make you look more professional, stand out. And a lot of times, especially business owners, you get too entrapped into your own business and your own thoughts, and you have trouble articulating the actual sales value of your business. And so sometimes you need someone, a publicist, to help you outline it and figure out what those firing words are, what the keywords need to be, what the title needs to be, what image needs to be in there. All of that matters. If it is going to get picked up, it is very important that it's written. Our team has written thousands and thousands of press releases, and we've learned all of the things that we need to know about what goes in there. Obviously, we're always learning more, but why experiment when you can get an expert to help you through that? So just the copy of that press release is so important. Despite the distribution, we want a really professional press release, because what we're going to do next is once that's out there on the wire, we're going to go ahead and then start pitching you to the journalists and editors, and we'll use clips from that. We'll mention the press release, we'll mention the wire, we'll link to it. And so it's all a tool to help you build your business. And so you want to put yourself out there in the best light. And I think that it's important to hire at least a good writer to write this press release in a traditional media style. All right, guys, that's all I have for press releases today. If you have any questions, like I said, reach out to us, hit that contact page and let us know if you have any questions. And as always, guys, make sure to follow me, Found Scott, on Instagram. Appreciate it. Thank you and have a great day.